All right. So I've been meaning to do this for a while. This is a first go, so it might be a little rough, but I just want to chat through kind of the first couple years of lifting where I'm at now. I'm 2 years in, and I just feel like it would be interesting, just the perspective of somebody who just went through year one and year two could be valuable to some people. I bought a squat rack early 2020 before everything kind of went down, and so it was very timely. And like most people, started lifting a 3x5 program because what else do you do, right? And it worked pretty well. It was fun. I had a lifting buddy. We would push each other and kind of do the lifts as best we knew how. Try not to hurt yourself. Linear progression, add 5 pounds every week or as often as you could. And it was fun. It was good. And the lifts blew up. My lower body's stronger than my upper body. I always played soccer and things. And so my squat blew up. By the end of the year, I did a 3x5 at 315. But as a newbie, I was doing a powerlifting, like barely getting to level with my leg as you squat down. If you go below parallel, all of a sudden it gets way harder. And so without really meaning to, just like keeping it easy enough so I could keep moving the weight up. And so I did eventually fix that. As you can see here, these feel a lot lower than they look, but I started trying to go ATG, ass and hurt my ego. But first year did 3x5, and then towards the end of the year thought that I should be making bigger gains or I should see more hypertrophy, and then I played with like a powerlifting mesocycle, and I ended the year with a really good squat, a good deadlift at 347 for like 7 reps or whatever it was. My bench still sucked. I had a estimated 1 rep max for 210 ish and OHP for like 135 ish, and it was doing all right. And I got to my 1 year, and my CNS was completely fried, completely out. And then I didn't lift for like a month and a half because I was recovering. I needed it. So I returned, and I was trying to do 3x5 again, and it just wasn't the same. And it's not supposed to be, especially if you come into it like with an athletic background and you're already kind of fit and whatever. It's only supposed to really work, I think, with linear progression where you add a couple pounds a week and you're just always seeing gains. Like, that really doesn't last forever. And the big question that everybody has is, what do you do after that? What do you do after that? What are you supposed to do? You just go find some random program, or you do 5x5, or you do 5-3-1. But and maybe I should have. But I started playing with some different stuff, and I think I was a little disheartened. I played with some like high reps. You can see I'm doing sets of 15 here, so I've obviously ended there. I'm working on high rep schemes right now. But I think for the first few years, you can still make size gains, hypertrophy gains, and strength gains. And so I didn't feel like if I'm trying to do, like if I do a powerlifting mesocycle, I'll just get stronger, but then I'll be disappointed because I'm not getting aesthetic gains. And if I just do aesthetics, I'm not going to get stronger, and I'll be disappointed I'm not getting strength gains. So I'm trying to find some sort of middle road. And I think most people, there's not really a good answer on like, what do you do when 5x5 or 3x5 stops working? Like, what are you supposed to do? So I'm sort of trying to make my way through it. And I've noticed a few things. So like, as I've kept lifting and I've changed up the sets and the reps, and I've introduced lifts that I thought were useless or whatever at the beginning because I'm an idiot, like rows. My physique, though I'm not getting stronger, my technique's getting better, which means I just make lighter weight feel harder. And my physique is filling out. The parts of your physique that, like, say you don't have a really strong back, you start doing higher reps, I think you gain mind muscle connection when the weight's a little lighter, and you can really like focus on the move. And then your physique sort of fills out. So maybe one or two muscles were driving the move the first 6 months you did the lift. And then as you lighten the weight and you really focus, I think other muscles can get engaged. Or if you play, instead of with doing barbell rows, you do dumbbell rows. And all of a sudden there's other muscles that get a chance to get worked out instead of shutting down and not getting involved because the weight's too heavy. I definitely think there's value to having technique days when you first start, because it gives a chance for you to do the move correctly, which is really annoying to hear when you first start lifting. And also it gives smaller muscles that you've maybe not really used your entire life a chance to wake up and start to build. And so there's a ton of value in that. Another thing that I've found over my millions of hours of YouTube search, which is, half-cocked research, is actually I've been listening to Mind Pump podcast, and they have a bunch of YouTube stuff and whatever. It's three lifters, or three coaches who have been coaching people for years, like 15 years each or whatever it is. And they're really big proponents of switching up sets and reps. So if you do a 3x5, move to like a 3x10 or whatever, however many sets by 10, and then move to a certain amount of sets by 15 and rotate it semi-frequently, as a way to kind of keep it fresh, for one, keeps it interesting, but also it keeps sort of switching the stimulus. Because what they found, and what I think I started to find in my first year, is if you just do 3x5, eventually your body gets kind of used to it, you kind of stop responding to it. And also with 3x5, when you're doing linear progression, you're always bumping up against your 5 rep max. You have a 1 rep max, and like if it's 100 pounds, your 5 rep max is going to be like 85 or whatever, I don't know, or 75. Like, you have a max, and if you keep trying to add weight, you're constantly pushing against that, and the closer you get to your max, the worse your technique gets. A lot of people, the Mike Zertels of the world or whoever, promote lifting to an RPE 8, which is basically leaving 2 reps in the tank. If 10 is 100%, RPE 9 is leaving 1 rep in the tank, RPE 8 is leaving 2 reps in the tank, RPE 7 is 3 reps, and then anything below RPE 6 isn't worth doing, really, except for a warm-up. That's what they say. I'm just regurgitating here. So lifting to an RPE 8 and switching up sets and reps should help with progress. And I sort of experienced it. This year I was playing with things, and I did some overhead press, like 75 pounds for a 3x12. And at first you suck at it, and like the second time you do it, you're a little better because your body starts to adapt pretty quick. And when I went back to heavy lifting, all of a sudden I could do a single rep at 135 with the wheels, and I was stoked. As I used to struggle doing reps at 125 or 128. So I think I've experienced it, and it really affected me. Also, I had started doing rows, which you're seeing here, a little before that, and I think just upper back strength helped me stabilize and allowed my body to feel comfortable lifting that weight. It's interesting, you'll hear people talk about Olympic lifters and power lifters. They're better at recruiting 100% of their capability than most people. Their central nervous system actually keeps them way below 100%, which is why you'll hear stories about moms who can lift cars when their adrenaline kicks in because they have a child under it. And you're like, why can't you do that every day? It's because your body puts a natural limiter on your ability. And they've found that Olympic lifters and power lifters and people like professional strongmen are actually better at recruiting. And so if your body's out of balance, it'll limit you all on its own. that bastard. But if you balance out your physique and you kind of get all your muscles firing and awake and building, you'll be able to make progress where you're not actually getting stronger, you're just getting better at a lift, or you're recruiting more power for whatever reason. So I think I experienced a little bit of that, and then also switching up rep ranges was super fascinating. And so that's where I'm at now. Is I'm swapping. I was thinking about doing powerlifting mesocycles or whatever, but I still don't like. Still not convinced I need to try that. I may try it. The guys at Mind Pump Media actually bought one of their programs and like analyzed it. I've built spreadsheets for days, and they really. I'm trying out the basically switching up sets and reps for like a mesocycle for every like month or whatever. Going from like 3x5 or like 3 or a couple of sets by 4 or whatever to sets of 8 to 12 and then sets of 15 and then repeating, and doing each of those rep ranges for a number of weeks. And I am starting these videos finally so that I have a record of it. And I keep a record on JFit. It's a JEFIT app where you can like log all of your lifts and stuff, and it's great. But now I have a video record, and if I ever get a coach, I can show them